Wait, is it Lord of Darkness or Legacy of Darkness?
Legacy.
Yeah, I was gonna
Yeah, damn it.
say. What were you thinking, Lord of Shadows?
It matches the acronym, okay?
It does.
So this is Dark Souls point 0.5.
Yeah, pretty much. Wait, I thought King's Field was Dark Souls .5.
I've never actually played King's Field. I actually own a copy of it, but I've never played it.
It's a pretty good game. Are we ready to go?
I am good whenever you guys are, if you want to give me a countdown.
Alright, cool. 3, 2, 1, go.
Yeah, the Japanese name is Legend of Cornell. So this is Castlevania Legacy of Darkness. It's actually very similar to Castlevania 64, which I'm sure a lot of you have seen before. It's kind of the director's cut. They added 2 extra characters. First thing you'll notice is I'm jumping a lot. Jumping is faster than regular walking. And I'm picking up a bunch of these jewels. They're basically gonna be my ammo, kind of like what hearts are in other Castlevania games. So this is the first stage, Foggy Lake, and it's kind of infamous for being kind of garbage. The platforming is really bad. Like, you have magnet hands and there's ledges everywhere, so you typically don't grab the ledge you want to grab. So there's an axe up there I wanted, and I just completely missed it. That's cool though, because I'm actually just gonna keep going, and we'll grab a backup axe later on. But yeah, pretty simple. I'm just gonna be killing some lizards to try to spawn a cutscene that's gonna activate the escape part of this sort of sequence, and then we'll be added like kind of like the prologue area of Foggy Lake.
We have a question for the runner in chat. Why not Henry, TBH?
I did Henry last time. I gotta change it up a little bit. There's 4 different characters.
Does that mean NASA 17 will get a different character?
Yeah, sure, why not?
Awesome. For a different game, aren't you working on some other games?
Yeah, one thing I'll be working on soon is probably some more Bomberman.
This is the N64 one. Well, it's another N64 one.
Yeah, it's kind of like the director's cut version of Castlevania 64. So there's a couple different ways you can do this boss fight. I'm gonna cheap out and do the easy way and just use wolf form and basically just destroy the crap out of him.
Is this better than the other one? I would assume so.
I personally think it is. I think they made a lot of improvements that make sense. There's also a lot of changes that don't make sense. One of the first changes that you'll notice is if you look up at my sub-weapon, the axe has a 1 next to it. So sub-weapons can achieve like multiple levels in this game, kind of like your whip could in like earlier Castlevanias, up to level 3. And level 3 axe is pretty much god tier for this game.
That reminds me of the crystals you could equip in Lamented Innocence.
Yeah.
Modify your sub-weapons. I wonder if that's where they got the idea.
They do have a habit of like carrying stuff over in Castlevania games and like re-implementing them.
Yeah.
So this is the first boss. It's a pretty hardcore scripted fight. The big skeleton guy is going to move to 6 different locations, and I just have to hit him twice in each spot. If I time it right, I can do it before he spawns any skeletons, which reduces like a lot of lag. Lag's really big in this game, so you'll see me staring at the ground quite a bit. It's great.
This is in regular Castlevania 64 as well, isn't it?
Yep, this is the first stage that was redesigned for Legacy of Darkness, Force of Silence, the first level in Castlevania 64.
Are the strats for killing him the same, or do you have better strats?
They're actually completely different, just because of how the boss works. The fight's like far different. He doesn't. His movement is a lot more locked to specific patterns and like cycles, so you have to work with those patterns. So this is where Tiger, he's kind of a joke. You hit him 3 times and he dies. Some of the other characters he's a little bit more difficult to deal with, like Henry. You have to do a different setup and everything, but as Cornell you just throw 3 wave attacks and he dies. First major skip's coming up right around this corner after I grab this axe. This will be the second axe I grab, giving me level 2. And the skip up here, I'm basically going to skip an entire tunnel segment and go straight to where I hit a switch that opens up the boss door.
So I guess the idea of the first axe that you missed was you would have level 3 at this point.
Yeah, normally I'd have level 3, which is not a huge deal. It just means I need to change up my strategy just a little bit.
Is Cornell faster than the other characters, or which character is the fastest?
Cornell is actually the longest run. It's probably about the same as Reinhardt. They're the 2 longer runs, Carrie being the second shortest, and then Henry like only being like 15 minutes long.
Right.
Yeah, Cornell's character design is actually based on Bruce Lee. So he's got like that weird bowl haircut, except it's white, so you can't really tell. So this is our second encounter with the skeleton. It's pretty much the same fight, except he has a couple new tricks up his sleeve. He's got this Thunder Stomp he's going to use. So normally the attack grouping I did there would have ended that cycle, but I needed to hit him one more time because I don't have level 3 axes. Yeah, so this game has auto-targeting, and it's pretty terrible. So if I'm missing shots, it's because the game doesn't want me to hit the boss.
I'm sure that adds a lot of frustration to trying to get world record.
Oh yeah, there's a lot of different things in this game that definitely add to frustration. That's one of them. I'm gonna try something here. The second axe went wild. I was gonna try to throw 2 axes and see if I could skip this second cycle right here. Okay, cool. We're good. Yeah, so pretty straightforward boss. It's pretty scripted, like I said earlier, so you do exactly how you're supposed to, and it's pretty straightforward. There's nothing super random about it. And that's the last really kind of like easy to do speedrun boss. Alright, now we're in Castle Wall, and for those of you that have seen Castlevania 64, this will look very familiar. I'm gonna be quiet here just because this tower doing this optimally and getting the cycle that you need is a little tough. It's only tough if you have single platforms. I got lucky and I got double. It's completely random whether you have 2 green platforms or 1 in each section, and if you only have 1, then you have to really, really time your jumps carefully in order to avoid grabbing and be able to make it across without having to wait. So I'm gonna see if I can grab one of these jewels here, since I don't have axes. and we'll activate Werewolf form again to see if I can do some extra damage to kill this guy quicker. I want to kill this guy quickly, simply because he drops Sun cards and Moon cards, and I'm going to need 2 of each in order to follow the routing for this run. There are some backup ways to get the cards that I miss, but I'm going to hope that I don't have to worry about it. Picking up, though, is not accurate at all. Okay, so I only got 1 Sun card, 1 Moon card. Luckily, there's a backup for both. The Sun card's a little bit out of the way, so I might just leave it up to Luck and Art Tower. We'll see.
I didn't know we were playing the new Pokemon.
Yes, this is not Pokemon Sun and Moon.
Back-to-back Pokemon Sun and Moon runs.
Yeah, so basically these Sun and Moon cards, like I should actually explain what those are. So this game uses a clock system and actually like follows like time throughout the day. You can see the clock in the top left corner. And there's specific events throughout the game and doors that can only be opened during certain like times of day. So I'll need a grouping of cards in order to manipulate those doors and different events that happen.
Did this game come out before or after Majora's Mask?
I think it came out before.
That's kind of cool that they were doing that day-night cycle beforehand.
Yeah. So pretty much why I'm going up and down these towers is I'm pulling levers to open up all the doors I need in order to get through the main gate. Left tower is much easier than right tower. There's less random like platforms and stuff. Those 4 green platforms with the spikes can sometimes give you some really bad luck, and you can end up with all 4 of them with spikes up. Which is kind of bad, because you either have to wait, or you can jump to the invisible platform to the right.
That's pretty crazy, actually. So, like, none of this stuff is actually set. It's all RNG.
It's usually like 1 or 2 different patterns, usually like that. And it's random whether it's one or the other. Besides that, everything's pretty much set on cycles, but the problem is those cycles are sort of set by different things. They could be set by when you enter the room, when you enter the level, or what time of day it is. Okay, so now we're gonna go to the 3rd level, Villa. Villa is the longest level for Cornell. It it takes about like 7 minutes for a speedrun. However, recently, as in like I want to say like 6 months ago, a runner by the name of Winglebert found a skip which skips the entire thing. So I'll be making my way to a specific point in the maze to do a clip out of bounds. Yeah, Cornell has the goofiest jump animation I think I've ever seen.
I mean, at least he looks like he's having a good time.
He looks like he's what?
I said at least he looks like he's having a good time.
Yeah. Alright, cool. Those dogs are kind of a hassle to deal with if you don't have level 3 axes. So the rest of the villa is pretty straightforward. It's pretty quiet because we're going to skip a lot of things that you'd normally do. Normally you're supposed to grab 2 crest halves to place it to a door. One of them is fairly easy to get, and the other one has a long to tedious quest where you have to talk to NPCs, figure out some puzzles, open up some stuff. And we're going to bypass both of them by skipping the door by just clipping out of bounds and going straight to the loading zone. Also, skeletons on bikes.
Are they playing card games at this point?
I have no idea. These 2 might be up here. I have a habit of killing the driver, and then you can hear it explode in the background.
Just that guy sitting there.
Yeah, no control over where the bike's going. Okay. So this clip's pretty precise, but it has a very good setup for it, so it's pretty easy to get it consistent. Basically, I mean, I clip into the maze by using a statue that doesn't have a hitbox on the top of it. Basically, the top of it, they never added anything, because normally you can't jump that high. And you can use that to just walk right out. Yeah, so, Angela Comics made a actually pretty funny reference. So, if you have Nitro in your inventory on a save file, and then you open a new file on, like, the same file, so, like, start a new game using the same file, you'll start the game in Foggy Lake with Nitro in your inventory, and you can't jump at all, and you will, like, instantly die. It's pretty funny, actually.
That's pretty good.
Okay. This is Outer Wall. It's a fairly short level, and it's completely unique to Cornell. There's a pretty scary jump coming up. There's a good setup for it, but sometimes I miss this. Okay, we're good. And that skips about half the level by pulling that off. And along the way, there's our backup axe and that torch right there. Kind of a cool slide coming up. This boulder has a really, really odd hitbox, and Cornell's actually the only character whose hitbox can actually slide right underneath it like that. So these platforms will 90% of the time give you a bad pattern, but if you just hang onto the edge while the block goes in, you can hold onto the edge and keep your place like as you climb. Saw blades are pretty straightforward, you just jump over them. Another boss coming up is Harpy. We're basically going to use level 3 power up with our wave, which is now like fully powered up. And we're going to use werewolf form and pretty much just completely obliterate her. Yeah, so she's dead.
Nice.
And the reason we don't use werewolf form for every boss is because there's no way to turn it off. The only way it can turn off naturally is through a cutscene. So if there's any boss that has a cutscene at the end, we're pretty much going to use a wolf form on that boss. I do say basically a lot. Hope that's all right.
This is a...
So I got lucky, and one of the 2 knights I could kill at the end has the sun card I need. So we don't have to worry about trying to farm it.
Nice.
So this is probably the worst level in the game, in my opinion. I'm going to be taking it super carefully and not going for optimal strats, just because I'm really prone to dying here. However, it has probably the best music. Werewolf form is actually the most optimal way to kill anything, it has the highest damage output, but it uses all your jewels, which is also your damage output for axes. So you kind of have to balance it on places that are actually like good to use it, so you don't use up all your jewels on one boss and then have none for the next level. Yeah, we're getting super basic up in here. And then going back up, instead of riding the platforms, we're just going to run up the rail. And we got one more out of bounds coming up. This one's a little bit trickier to do. I'm basically going to use a knight to push me and clip me out of bounds. Yeah, the back-to-back-to-back sun, moon doors are kind of aggravating. It's the only, like, sort of RNG element in this run. So I'm gonna kill the knight on the right because he typically gets in the way. And I'm gonna run into this corner right here and just hold forward until this knight walks up behind me. For whatever reason, knights won't actually... If you're just straight up running, the knight won't actually attack unless I'm jumping or stopped. I have no idea why that is. And he's being done. Okay. There we go. So use that knight to push ourselves out of bounds in a sort of statue that we're normally not able to. Now I have to sort of navigate. Okay. You have to navigate kind of blind until you can see this door, and then you run straight to it. And this glitch would not work if that door was not there. Fortunately, it's the only thing that's loaded in that room. You can run down the rail. It's more optimal, it's faster, but it's also incredibly dangerous because of the angle and camera you have. The setup for it is not as precise, or not as simple. So I opted to not do it, because I die there a lot. Okay, so pretty good. Tower of Ruins. Or our tower. Tower of Ruins is up next. Or better known as Tower of Doors. The first half of this is pretty much just running from door to door and opening them, so... This is the Resident Evil part of the run. I'm hoping someone actually got that joke. Okay, thanks.
I was trying to think of a way to make a joke about shitty leaderboards.
But yeah, this level's pretty straightforward for the most part in the beginning. I'm just running around and I'm hitting all the switches necessary to open up the last sort of staircase. In order to actually, like, exit the level. Unfortunately, there's no cool out of bounds or cool tricks here. It's just opening doors, running open, hitting switches. Yes, this maze is incredibly stupid. Doing this casually is terrible. You'll see these pedestals in the middle of certain rooms, and those are supposed to be, like, maps that tell you where to go, but they make no sense, and they only, like, show you the floor you're on. So it's complete garbage, and like doing this casually, most people kind of rage quit on this area.
So they carried that over from Simon's Quest?
Yeah, pretty much. There's usually, like, I've noticed there's always something in a Castlevania game that is just completely, like... The idea and the thought was there, but it wasn't executed very well.
Oh, not in Symphony of the Night, though. That game's perfect, right?
Sure. It is definitely a better designed game than this one, though.
To be fair, most of the 3D Castlevanias are poorly designed. That doesn't mean they're not fun.
I would argue the 3D Castlevanias got worse the more that came out.
I don't know. Lament of Innocence is one of my favorites.
Oh, I like Lament of Innocence. I think this one and Lament of Innocence are the two good ones in my opinion. Yeah,
I guess I was lucky.
You'll see me doing these weird movements in a couple of rooms like this one, and that's because the floors collapse in those rooms. That's all I was gonna say.
I was just gonna say I guess I'm lucky because my first and only Castlevania 3D game that I played all the way through, aside from Lords of Shadow, was Lament of Innocence.
Gotcha. I still haven't beaten Lament of Innocence.
It's good. The final boss is fun. Which game is better, this or Lords of Shadow?
I am not a fan of Lords of Shadow.
Yeah.
To me, Lords of Shadow is the other M of the Castlevania series.
Well, it's not really a Castlevania game. play like a Castlevania. It plays like God of War.
Yeah. So, this is the second section of Tower Ruins. It's pretty straightforward. I grabbed a little bit too far to the left, so that part is... I don't really lose a lot of time. I just go up this little elevator, make a short jump, and then back to where I was. Yeah, the rest of this, like, this whole level is, like, there's nothing really special about it. The only thing that's going to be kind of interesting is right here, I'm about to make a jump that skips kind of half of this area. You're not supposed to be able to make this jump, but you can, so you do. And that skips a good portion of the second section of Tower Ruins. And the last section of Tower Ruins is basically a memory game. You're supposed to look at the like, sort of portraits on the wall with these symbols and match the symbols to the pillars to figure out which one to jump to. It's kind of dumb though, because you can't, by the time you get to the top, you can't actually see like the one near the ground anymore. So you sort of have to just memorize it. Luckily the pattern is just right, left, left, so. The task does this without any ledge grabs by jumping to the pillar before it's even come up yet. It's pretty dumb. And I dropped to the wrong pillar.
What makes it so that you can't do that as a human?
Alright, so we're gonna go through doors again. You can do it as a human, it's just extraordinarily hard, just because, mainly because of the camera. The camera's pretty ass. So I do the thing that I always do, and I forget the pattern because I'm talking, and I died.
That's okay.
Yeah, it's basically easy pattern except for I basically died, so basically we're dead. So basically we have to hit switches now.
Can we rename Cornell to Basic Leaf?
Yeah, let's call him basically from now on.
Yeah, since he's Bruce Lee.
I didn't get that at first.
You gotta go deep for the memes now.
But yeah, this is why it can be kind of an ass game to speedrun, because dying wastes so much time, because not only did I obviously have to do this all over again, and yeah, you can do safety saves, but whether you save or not, if you die, you lose all your power-ups and all your sub-weapon levels. So now I'm like super weak.
Wait, so even if you reload the save game, it's still...
Yeah, it doesn't preserve
Wow.
your power-ups or anything.
That kind of sucks.
Yeah, it's kind of brutal. So it's not particularly a hard game to run, but it's not really forgiving at all with making mistakes, which can be kind of aggravating. On the side note, this level has some pretty sick music, so I guess we'll just be able to hear it longer. You know, I thought right before I went to the pillars too that maybe I should make a safety save, and then I was just like, nah. So we've got one power up right now. We're gonna need one more and then 2 more axes. Luckily though, there's actually a couple levels coming up where there's not a lot of combat going on, and I'll have time to grab those sub-weapons because they're not really that far out of the way.
You're correct. This is not Super Mario, but we also have just fixed the schedule. So if you refresh your schedule, you should see a more accurate representation of what is going on. Also, don't blame the schedule. Blame Yoshi Pro for not showing up for his runs.
Ouch. Oh, I missed the jump. Alright, we're good. I didn't die.
Nice. I'm honestly just salty because I really wanted to see that.
Actually, me too. I actually really like that run.
Yeah, me too. I'm actually, like, gonna learn it now that I have it captured. That was my favorite PlayStation 2 game when I was a kid, so.
Yeah. Okay, I'm gonna take a little bit longer to set this up, make sure I got it right. Okay. So I got hit by a random falling boulder. Normally if you follow the, like, if you go into the room and start it, everything's on a set pattern for this room. Kind of like I was talking about earlier, like patterns are set by. So steamrolling through the room's pretty easy. Now that I've made a mistake, everything's extremely random, so I could randomly get hit by a falling rock or some other shenanigans.
That makes sense.
Yeah.
It's the downside to cycles.
Yeah, as soon as you miss it, it becomes garbage.
Yeah. There's literally only one piece of, like, one cycle that's a pain in bears, and it's a platform that just, for some reason, they just randomly are different distances apart from each other.
That's kind of
It's the only
aggravating.
part of the run that's actually difficult.
So my health's low, but it doesn't really matter because the rest of this level, I can only get one shot, so by falling. Alright, so right. Left. Right. And then left twice.
That jump you just did look like
Yeah, there's... ledge grabbing's weird.
yeah. I keep thinking you're gonna completely miss the ledges.
Yeah. All the characters in this game have absolute magnet hands.
Yeah.
Okay, so this is Tower of Science. Unlike CV64, Tower of Science has complete... everything's on a set cycle, which is actually really nice. Otherwise, this would be absolutely terrible. But providing I don't get any ledge grabs, and I make all these jumps, everything will be on a set cycle, and I can just keep going. I got one ledge grab, but that's okay. I think we'll still be okay with this cycle. Also have to pay a little bit more attention to the laser beams at the very end. The spike blocks really aren't that big of a deal. The real danger is actually in between the conveyor belts. If I get knocked down and then, like, pulled into one of, like, those crevices between conveyor belts, it's an instant death.
Oh.
Yeah, it's... you just get, like, crushed, like you're getting crushed by gears.
Wow. That kind of sucks.
Yeah.
I feel like everything you've told me about this game makes it sound like it's just not fun casually when you first, like, don't know what you're doing.
That's really
I mean,
not...
not
it's kind of... No, I know what you mean.
Yeah, like, frustrating.
Everything's playing around pretty much kicking your ass.
Yeah.
There's one...
I see why you say it's Dark Souls 0.5.
Yeah. Well, Castlevania games have kind of always had that similar structure where it's designed to kind of beat you into the ground.
Yeah.
I've always thought that anyway.
Yeah, for sure. The original Castlevania was very, very much for sure. Goddamn Medusa heads.
So the only true element of RNG in the entire game that's truly random is the Fleamen, which is the little green goblin-looking guys. They can spawn pretty much anywhere where they're allowed to spawn and move in any random direction. So they're probably my least favorite thing in this game.
Are they are they like a common Castlevania enemy, or are they something specific to this game?
Oh, they're very common throughout all the games. They're in Soten, they're in everything.
Are they the flea men? Is that what they're?
Yeah.
Oh yeah. Okay. I just saw them.
Alright, this is room 6. This is the final room of Tower of Science. It's pretty straightforward. And all these laser beams are, like, they'll only shoot at you if they're in your, like, sort of camera view. So if I'm not looking at them, they can't actually hit me. Which is kind of nice.
The schedule was just fixed, so if you refresh it, it should give you a actual accurate idea. At least a generally accurate idea of when you can expect to see Zelda.
So this game wasn't meant to be an expansion of CV64. CV64 was actually released prior to it being completed. And so they only had 2 characters. This is basically kind of like what the developers originally intended as far as game design. They fixed levels that they thought needed to be fixed and added the 2 original characters they wanted to add. So it's kind of like a director's cut, more or less. So that's why a lot of the levels look extremely similar.
Of Ocarina of Time, make sure to check out, we just added a new donation incentive for that run, for Glitchymon to wear the Zora tunic for the whole run after he gets it. As well as we still do have a pretty close race here, or bid war here, between MST and All Chess. I think there's only a $10 difference between the two. All Chess is in the lead at the moment. So if you're an MST fan, your donation's in.
So that was Guard Crystal, pretty straightforward. You're supposed to destroy all the turrets, but you can just walk up to the edge of the fence and you'll auto-target the boss and just throw axes at it. This is Dual Tower. This is one of the more... There's a lot of skips here and a lot of cool tricks involved. That's the first one. It's kind of hard to get if you screw up your analog movement at all. We're doing science again because I saved, and then... So there's 2 options when you load after a death. You'll either load from save or load level. And even though I hit the input of down, it still loaded the save. So we're back at runs. I've done this before in runs. I don't know how many times. I've killed runs by doing this. The good news is actually this will allow me to hopefully not die in Dual Tower next time. Dying in Dual Tower is super not good because there's very few power-ups and backup axes that you can grab. And there's a lot of boss fights there. So yeah, if you miss science, you'll get to see it one more time.
As a side note for people...
Go ahead.
Okay. As a side note for people who are asking questions about the schedule, it does look like Super Mario 64 will probably end up being something else. Unfortunately, because of having to move things around because runners didn't show up, that runner is probably going to have to go to class instead of do his run. So just figured I'd let you guys know to expect a little more change on the schedule. We're going to try and make sure that Zelda still stays at the same time, though, so if you are interested in Zelda, it should be around 6 o'clock.
This is getting silly. Maybe I just like Tower of Science and I wanted to play it again. You don't have to be so rude about it.
Hey, it's a pretty cool level. I mean, look at those little laser things. Or I guess those aren't really lasers, are they?
I
Tesla
guess
coils.
not, yeah.
Jeez.
Yeah, those moving blocks in the very last section are like, they'll pop out at like Mach speed. They're kind of hard to dodge.
Yeah. Yeah, I saw that.
Usually if you don't see one go out, you typically just want to wait. I didn't know that turret could hit you from there. That's weird. Yeah, so backup strats without power-ups and axes are kind of weird. Typically in a speedrun, if you die, you pretty much reset, just because you lose so much time. So I slide here not because it gets me underneath the fire, but because if I get hit while sliding, technically those fires are supposed to knock you over the edge, and you'd have to go all the way around and back again. But because you're sliding, your hitbox is lower, and it keeps you in the rails. You don't get completely knocked off.
So I do have a slight update on the Super Mario situation. It looks like we're going to be replacing Super Mario with some fun, random puzzle game speedruns. So Tetris, etc. So if you're into those big Tetris blocks they have at AGDQ, that might be up your alley.
Alright, back to Dual Tower. So, pretty much the extent of this is a lot of large end skips and a couple boss fights. The first boss fight right here, we're actually going to skip. And hopefully get it right this time. Okay, cool, we got it. And it's like back and forth between some platforming and then a boss fight. The second boss fight, if the AI works, like cooperates with me, it'll be an insta-kill. Alright, cool. And pretty much just falls into the water and just dies. Which is, I'm glad that exists because that boss is actually kind of a pain.
I do like big Tetris blocks up now.
What kind of Tetris blocks? L-shaped?
No, the big squares.
Ouch.
Hey man, you know what they say, it's not about the length, it's about the girth.
So I'm gonna walk on the edge of this to not activate this boss right away. I have to fight him, there's no skip for this, but there's a power-up right here I can grab, making this a little bit easier.
Boss looks like that one you fought.
Looks like what?
That tiger that you fought at the beginning to some extent.
Yeah, it's very, very similar. A lot of these kind of bosses are. Okay, that took a lot longer than normal because I was low powered, but that's still a pretty good fight. So there is a skip to this last boss. It's only recently been like accomplished on console, so I will not be doing it here. Since I'm sure you guys are tired of seeing the same level and over again. However, it involves doing a frame-perfect jump out of a slide.
Probably not marathon safe.
No, not really. That was actually a really good werewolf fight, though.
Yeah, okay. Not that I know what I'm talking about.
Alright. Now it's Tower of Lag. This is Tower of Execution. It's like way different than it was in CV64. Instead of like an actual tower, it's like a gauntlet of swinging guillotine blades and other bullshit. This is actually pretty much all random. All RNG. So you just have to time your jumps.
So what you're saying is this is actually all skill.
Or luck. Whatever you want to call it.
Whichever.
Also, you have to be quick with this section, because these rocks actually slowly sink as you're on them. Ugh. Yeah, that platform's in a really shitty spot. It's really easy to just jump right over it. Good news is we don't go back far, and we actually don't really lose much on axes and power-ups.
Well, that's good.
What's my death counter at, like 4?
Yeah, I think so. I think it's like 3 or 4.
Sadly, that's actually not terrible for a no reset if I don't die anymore.
Well, I mean, I wouldn't expect it. You know. That was like, I mean, like, it's the same thing. The last run, Dark Souls, he died like 4 times. Like, that's
Yeah.
expected in a marathon run. There's so many different ways you can just get completely fucked over. So.
Okay, cool.
Alright, so I want to announce something very quickly. Because since we had to figure out something to replace the SM64, I'm going to be doing that random puzzle game. I haven't announced it yet, but I have added a donation goal. For $25, I will voice act it since it's going to be 15%. Gotta kind of... So, if you want that to happen, you better donate for it.
Yeah, there's some invisible spear guy there, but you can just literally run by past him.
If you do donate, by the way, please make sure, if you want it to go towards that, that you check that in the little drop-down box under the or right above the PayPal button. So we've had quite a few donations without incentives picked, which is it's just a waste of meme opportunities.
So this is the meatball section of the Tower of Execution. These big, huge iron balls, as we call meatballs, the lava that they spew up causes like a crap ton of lag. So you try to want to just run through them as quickly as possible. There's actually one more backup power-up right here. Okay, so I need one more power-up and one more axe, which I can actually get at the end of the next level. Yeah, the frame rate's gonna be super, super awesome in the next couple rooms. Okay, we were able to avoid most of the lag there by having the lava and meatball off screen.
Zelda strings. Yeah, that is really laggy.
Yeah.
That's crazy.
On the plus side, it makes timing your jumps actually really easy.
Well, yeah. also make anything that's frame perfect way easier.
Yeah. Alright, cool.
Reminder that when people say that they're doing frame perfect tricks in Ocarina of Time, it's only 23 frames per second. On a good day.
So this is Tower of Sorcery. Tower of Sorcery is actually pretty easy. The only scary part is actually this first guy who did in fact poison me. That's pretty trolly. But even with that poison, we should be okay. This tower's short, and when we get to the end of it, it'll heal us and remove the poison. You know, all these really bad Legacy of Darkness marathon runs is really trained me to be positive for doing marathon runs. And not, like, getting super mad at myself.
Well, it's actually pretty good. There's a lot of people who do speedruns and just get really angry.
Yeah. Well, if there's anything that trains you to not do that, it's this game. Because this game is a nightmare sometimes.
Yeah. I can see that.
Like, you heard the sound effect hit that crystal and it didn't actually hit it. Like, oh my god. That can happen.
Yeah. That's nice. Just broken hitboxes, I guess.
Yeah, pretty much. So, like, the very, very tip and last bit of the wave attack, as it fades, doesn't actually cause damage, but it can still hit and, like, knock back. It's pretty dumb. It can be, like, really, really bad for some sections where you think you've done damage and then you haven't. Okay. So, all I have to do is grab... I've already got an axe, actually. I just need the power-up over here. That's across. Where's the power-up? I think it's right here. And then, now we're good. We're fully powered up again. And we're gonna go fight, Chimera. It was actually pretty easy, because once again, we're gonna use wolf form.
We are coming up on our puzzle block pretty quick here. In about, what? An hour and a half? Yeah, about an hour and a half. So if you want to see Dark Aries make a fool of himself and voice act out his puzzle games, please get your donations in for that incentive. I certainly want to see it.
If there's anyone I want to see voice acting anything, it's Dark Aries.
Right.
But yeah, pretty easy boss fight. As long as you keep moving, he'll pretty much won't hit you just because of how, like, slow his attacks are. Alright, now we're in the last major level of the game. This is Clock Tower. And just like every other Castlevania, Clock Tower is total ass. This first part's pretty straightforward. It's just basic platforming. You don't want to get crushed by gears. But, I'll point it out when I get to the room that's probably the worst room in the game.
Wait, there's a worse room?
Yeah.
The ones we've already seen?
Yeah, it's the worst room in the game. You'll see. As I go through it, you'll see why it's the worst room in the game. It's a weird balance because it's the longest level, and some of the rooms, like this one, are actually fairly simple. There's like nothing going on in here. I just gotta grab the key and make it to the door.
The biggest challenge of this is not fucking up because of the camera, I guess.
Yeah. Which in that room, the camera is actually surprisingly tame. This right here is the worst room in the game. And I'm gonna stay quiet while I go through it. Except I can talk here because I'm waiting for the cycle anyway. So basically, long story short, there's a big, huge cycle this entire room is rotating on. And if I'm too slow in a section, I'll fall behind and I can lose up to 30 seconds per cycle.
Oh, yeah. Now I understand why it sucks.
And you'll note that I'm also pretty high up. If I fall, I'll die.
Oh.
That's why I did
So
the
you
safety
can-
save at the start.
So you can easily lose time and die.
Oh yeah, totally. And then you have to do the room all over again.
Nice.
So I'll be doing a skip called Key C skip. It's kind of a pain in the ass. I'm waiting for the slightly slower cycle as I go around. Just because it's a little bit easier to control. And then, alright. Okay, I got it. So basically that skip's having to go up the rest of the gears for that cycle. And grabbing a key at the very top and going through a door. Alright, I'm gonna try to do a flame boost to try to... Okay. Get a cycle ahead again. So it is possible to make up all 4 of those platforms in one go if you get this specific cycle that I'm at. But it's really, really tight.
I'm assuming if you fail, you die.
Yeah, exactly. Like, if you look down, I'm pretty high up.
Yeah.
And honestly, the reason why this is so difficult is not necessarily the platforming or, like, any of the glitchiness or anything. It's straight up just the camera. The camera is just shit.
Yeah. That's the only real downside to N64 games. The cameras are always terrible.
Yeah. Okay, cool. Made it through the shitty room. Oop. I was so excited to get out of the shitty room, I completely forgot I had to grab a key.
That might be important.
Yeah, so that was the worst room in the game.
Well, you didn't die, so
Yeah, no, that actually went really, really well. I'm pretty happy with that.
nice.
Like, one of the reasons why it's so bad to die in Clock Tower is there's no power-ups and axes pretty much the rest of the game. There's one power-up I can grab that's kind of out of the way, but besides that, that's it. So if you lose all your power-ups and everything, it makes the final boss, like, really, really bad to fight. So, one more big room. This one's a lot simpler, though, and the threat of death isn't nearly as bad. There's also less waiting for cycles, so you won't see me standing on a platform for absolutely ever.
Magnet hands failed.
Yeah, it's rare. It's actually not as bad as Castlevania 64, but it can happen where you just drop.
Yeah.
That's one thing they actually did better, is they did make the grabbing of ledges more consistent.
Yeah.
There is a way to skip this ledge I'm climbing, but if you do, you fall and you basically have to climb back up again. It loses about like 25 seconds every time you do it. So you guys could sit here and watch me try it over and over again, or I could just, you know, get to the end of Clock Tower. Okay, so there's 2 more sequence. I wouldn't say sequence breaks, but like skips. first one's right here. So instead of having to climb this ledge again to the left, I'm gonna position myself on this gear and wait for this flamethrower to stop. Oh, I got hit by the fire. Can I actually make it out from here? No, I can't. Okay. I've always fallen all the way down. So pretty much what that does is you skip having to shimmy across the entire ledge, which it's still faster to miss this and go for it again than it is to slowly, like, ledge hang and go across to the left.
Correct. Reminder, if you have Frank
Okay.
C, pop that follow button for SluckySeven.
Okay, we got a pretty good cycle on the last bit too. I was a little worried about that since we made a couple of mistakes. There's a flamethrower on the right on that spinny gear thing, and then there's this big, huge metal barbed like pole that swings around in circles. One last skip that I need to heal for. So normally you're supposed to do a whole bunch of like nonsense off to the right, but if you grab the ledge right in front of me and fall right here, you won't actually take enough damage to kill you. You can just walk straight to the lever. Yeah, I probably should have said the estimate as like 110. I was feeling confident. I was wrong.
It's Dark Gary's fault that you went over estimate, not yours. Don't worry about it.
Alright, so we're at the final boss now. Last Dracula fight, so there's like 2 minutes left in the run. So, unlike Castlevania 64, we're gonna fight the same first boss you do with Castlevania 64, and then you fight a different kind of like final boss called Ultimate Dracula.
What makes him so ultimate?
Oh, you'll see. He has an attack that if you let it go through and you don't stop it, he'll crash your N64.
Oh, that's pretty ultimate. I'm not gonna lie.
Yeah. Luckily, it's really easy to stop.
I wonder if that was just designed in on purpose. They're just like, all right, look, if you don't stop this,
Yeah.
you just don't even deserve to play the game. Like,
You're done. But yeah, you can see how overpowered werewolf form is with this fight. I got really good Drac 1 RNG and he only teleported like 3 times, I think. Time's coming
is
up
this
at
like
the when the health bar goes to 0 on this next boss.
is this like Twilight Werewolves version?
Oh, he hit me. Damn.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, I have trouble dodging that one. That's okay though.
Kind of crazy that they have all that.
And as you guys can see, this lags, like this boss in general just lags the shit out of the game. So I didn't do enough damage yet, so you guys are gonna be able to see me try to stop the game crashing technique, so hopefully it doesn't.
Oh, great. Is that what this is right here?
No, this isn't the game crashing one, you'll see it. It's really easy to stop. These do cause a lot of lag though. Okay, it's right here. So he charges up to do this attack. Oh god, he got me. Hopefully it doesn't crash. This could be bad. I hit his face, but for whatever reason, he didn't stagger and he still...
Nice.
Alright, cool, we didn't crash the game.
Ah.
I've lost runs to getting crashed there, and... Time.
104.15.
That's terrible. Awesome.
That's alright.
That was fun though. I'm glad
Yeah.
the train wreckiness kind of ended there after a while. We also got really lucky. My N64 didn't crash.
Yeah, I was gonna say. That would have been a pretty, to be honest, that would have been a pretty good way to end the run, though.
Yeah, I agree. That would have been a great way to end the run.
Alright, well, thanks a lot for hopping in and giving us a sick Legacy of Darkness run.
Thank you guys for watching, and thanks for having me.
Yeah. Stay tuned, guys. We're gonna watch this little cutscene play out, and after that, we're gonna have Mario Golf Toadstool Tour by Metal Yoshi, and that will be followed by our newly added random puzzle block with potential voice acting incentives. So get on over to the donate page and get your donations in.
And that's basically the whole run. If I had to say it one more time for good measure.
This is a pretty intense cutscene here.
Yeah, Castlevania games in general are known for the last boss taking like a decade to die. This one's no different.
Is he getting sucked into hell? Like, what's going on?
He's kind of dying. I don't know, really. It's getting sealed away? I don't know. Basically, long story short, Cornell sacrifices his wolf powers to save his sister Ada. I mean, I would have kept my wolf powers and sacrificed Ada, but that's just me.
I mean, what's he gonna do next time he has to kill Dracula?
I have no idea.
He's gonna have to find some sort of whip or something. Gosh. What
Well,
kind of Castlevania game is that?
Timeline-wise, this takes 10 years before Carrie and Reinhardt's sort of runs. So basically, he uses the werewolf form to come back, and basically that's what Malice is like the reincarnation of Dracula.
Huh. Not know that. Where does this take place in the general timeline? Like, is it like...
I have no idea. I just know the story of the two games. I actually, some people have told me that it has no place in the timeline, like it's not actually part of the official timeline, and other people told me that it is. So I don't actually know. That's a good question.
It's not like the Castlevania timeline makes a lot of sense anyway.
Exactly. The only one that really does, in my opinion, is Lament of Innocence.
Well, yeah, because it's the first.
It's the first one, yeah. Oh yeah, so anyone who's, some people mentioned Henry earlier. This is actually Henry right here, the little kid that runs up. He grows up to be the cool knight in armor with a revolver that shoots people.
Isn't there a bounty out for that? Don't you have some sort of thing with that?
I still have that out. If you get a Henry time of under 16 minutes, I will ship you a Castlevania Legacy of Darkness Japanese card. Sub 16 is actually not hard to get either.
Yeah, that's actually a pretty good... How expensive are those cards?
Oh, they're not too bad. I've gotten them for like 15 bucks before. But I mean, it's free if you get on emulator.
Yeah,
so.
right.
It was basically my incentive to get people to run the game.
Yeah, well, there you go. Pick up this game and you can get a free copy of it. Now, who's this guy?
This is the Dracula that we killed, technically. But the backstory is basically that we didn't actually kill him, and he uses the werewolf form to, like, basically reincarnate 10 years later.
Oh, great.
Yeah, it's, you know...
So essentially, you failed miserably.
Yeah.
Nice.
That's the brother that we killed that was the Chimera. Oh yeah, so the Chimera that we killed was actually kind of like one of our, like... I don't think he's, like, actually Cornell's brother, he's, like, part of, like, the wolf tribe or whatever. But he gets, like, mutated and turns into a Chimera. So, yeah, we killed a family member along the way.
Nice.
That's always fun.
Yeah, well, wait, no. What's the word I'm looking for? I can't remember.
Me either. Dude,
I was gonna say
Dragonfire...
Regicide, and then I realized that was for killing, like, kings, I think.
Yeah. Dude, Dragonfire, I'm always down for pizza instead of Castlevania.
Would you rather speedrun Legacy of Darkness or eat a sick pizza?
Like, one sick... If it's just one pizza, fuck that. But, I mean, like, if it's, like, pizza every day.
What if your choices are go to CC's or run Legacy of Darkness?
I don't know what CC's is.
Oh, it's like a all-you-can-eat pizza place.
Oh, dude, that sounds sick as fuck. Let's do that.
Yeah. Dude, if there's one in Toronto, which I doubt there is, but if there is,
Dude, we're
that
going.
shit up
Yeah.
to NASA 17. Yeah. Speaking of which, reminder that this marathon is currently benefiting the NASA 17 marathon essentially happening. We're raising money to cover part of the costs for the conference space that we'll be renting out in Toronto. The marathon will be taking place around mid to late May next year. And yeah. CC's is shitty pizza, but it's unlimited. That is a very key thing to like remember. Okay? It's like $10 and you can just sit there and eat for like 2 hours.
And this is just basically the credits right here.
Yeah. Awesome. Alright, thanks a lot for your run.
Thanks for having me.
We'll be back in just a couple of minutes once we get Mario Golf set up for you guys.